So hopefully you can hear us. We've had some technical difficulties, so I think we're connected and working again. Just to update the public on what has happened up to this point. On D.1.1, the heritage permit, Council did award it and did approve it. And just to note that Councillor Andrew Dick did declare a conflict prior to that. And we also approved the engineering award for Stevenson Crescent. And we will resume shortly. Okay, we're ready to continue. On to D.1.3, the Bonnechere River Park Trail Working Group Terms of Reference. The Renfrew Town Council approved the terms of reference for the Bonnechere River Park and Trail Working Group. Mover, please. Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Legree. I will now turn it over to Manager Springer for her report.
At this time, I did want to give all of Council a bit of an update on this project. We had been giving monthly updates as part of their department update to the standing committee, but of course not all of Council is there. So to start off, if you recall last fall, I came to you guys after the AMO conference and after a delegation that the town had with the MECP about possibly looking at a provincial urban park for the town of Renfrew along the Bonnechere River. This was something that the MECP at the time was very interested in and had, had some thoughts around that and was, very much considering this. A few months after that happened, there was a change in the cabinet at the provincial government, and a new minister was assigned. With that shuffle, our local MPP, John Yakubuski, also became parliamentary assistant to the MECP. And he put us in touch with the SHAD Foundation. They're a private family trust foundation that works very closely with the MECP, Ontario Parks, the Nature Conservancy of Canada, various land trusts, and they do this type of work. They establish parks and nature reserves, trails, that type of thing. So we met with the SHAD Foundation in December of last year. And we showed them some pictures. We did a drone flight over the area, showed them some maps, those types of things, discussed kind of what our goals were. And they saw a lot of potential in this project and have offered to help us navigate through the development process for no charge, for in-kind support. We then furthermore met with the MECP and Ontario Parks at the AMO conference, and the SHAD Foundation also attended that and helped with the presentation. As I mentioned, there has been a change. It's a new minister, and the province is still very much interested in the project, but at this time they're really focusing on their More Parks initiative, but their priority is more parks that can be turned around very easily and more parks that are revenue generating. So they do seem interested, but they did not give any sort of commitment at that time. We have continued with the SHAD Foundation meeting regularly, and they have connected us with the Nature Conservancy, the Bruce Trail Conservancy, who are big players in the natural space world and trail development, and representatives from those two organizations were out about 2 weeks ago, and we did a little site visit, got through about a third of the site, and they see a lot of potential. At the start it was a little difficult. We got into some rough terrain. As many of you know, town of Renfrew is built on clay, and we got lots of ravines that were difficult to navigate. But after the first couple hours, we did get down to a really nice spot with a nice peninsula, beautiful open space, and they definitely, when we got there, saw the potential. So we would like to continue this project regardless of whether or not the province wants to be involved or not. We believe there's lots of opportunities for funding. Like I said, the people that do this for a living see potential in this project. It might be something that we need to do a phased approach to. With the support of council, we would like to support, develop a working group in order to have that council and public interaction, and hopefully have some support from the public in terms of showing that the public is interested in this, for funding opportunities, have sort of cheerleaders out in the public that are promoting the future of this this project, and that is what the terms of reference kind of speak to. So if there's any questions, happy to take them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Councillor Andrew Dick?
Thank you, Mayor Sidney, and through you. Oh man, I forget your title, Amanda, I'm sorry. Manager. So I've had, and I know a few other councillors, we've had a few emails from town citizens who are not impressed with what's happening here. So just to help them understand and maybe ease their concerns a little bit, this is just a working group. We're not moving forward. We're not putting shovels in the ground. We're just working on some ideas to possibly have a Bonnechere River Park and trails down along both sides, possibly, of the Bonnechere River. It's hard to say what's going to happen, correct? I just want to let the citizens that are concerned and do not want this because they think it might be, we might be in you know, going on their land and destroying their land or whatever. If you could just help them kind of ease their concerns on that aspect of this, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, certainly. A large portion, about 2/3 of the land that we are maybe potentially proposing is already owned by the town or will be dedicated to the town in the near future. Okay. So there's definitely a potential to do this without private citizens being involved. That being said, I think it could be so much better if private citizens in key areas were involved, either through land acquisition or trail easement or other ways, and that could then result in a larger scale trail system that is more interconnected. As I mentioned, we're working with Bruce Trail Conservancy that literally has hundreds of thousands, not hundreds, but hundreds of, well, maybe thousands of kilometers of trail from the GTA all the way up to Thornbury and the Bruce Peninsula. They work with private landowners on all the issues. They've seen it all. The Shad Foundation has done many land deals. They're very familiar. So we are hoping with their support that we'll be able to reach out to, when the time is right, to these private landowners. But right now we're really focusing on that public land that we already have established, and that's where I'm saying the phased approach might come in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McWhirter?
Through you, Mayor Sidney, for you, Amanda. So the majority of the property that we're talking about, is it on the north side of the river or the south side, like Renfrew side or the Pembroke side? And if it is on the north side, is that something that we could tie into the waterfront development that we're already looking at?
Oh, sorry for the delay. The mic just, I pressed the button too long. So we are looking at currently this project, the south side of the river. Part of that phase where we might interact with private landowners is the part where we could tie it into the waterfront. But we are also looking at potentially through the waterfront master plan process, a smaller trail on the north side of the river around Arthur Avenue.
Thank you, through you, Chair. More of a statement, comment. I do like the idea of it. We've talked about it. Riverside, every town wants some Riverside, but I feel it's a little ambitious in our current status. I feel that we have lots of parks and other properties in our current usage that could be updated, used better, gone through, and the working group could probably be applied better to at least make what we have a little bit more accommodating, a little bit more usable, a little bit more user-friendly, or what have you. I understand that we're not rich in trails, but we do have some trails. We do have some properties that are already well used. I would prefer to see the effort put towards maximizing what we have in use and service as compared to branching out, but I do understand and respect the idea.
Councillor Andrew Dick.
Councillor sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Spolsky has some really good points there. Can we put this off for 2 weeks? So I could have a better understanding, maybe sit down with Amanda on a one-on-one level, talk with some of the other councillors, get their thoughts. I don't feel comfortable voting on this tonight after his comments. I think I'd rather wait. Is that okay, Mayor Sidney, or?
Sure. If I can speak to it, we do have a Parks and Rec master plan that's looking at all our park space to make sure that they're fully utilized. This is town land that's been in the town's ownership for many years. It's undevelopable land, really adjacent to the highway, and with the upcoming highway expansion is really about passive recreation. So what you do here does not affect playground structures at a park or community gardens at a park or some of our kind of more active recreation spots. That being said, yes, if council needs more time to consider this, I just want to note that because we're hearing, oh, well, you're not doing this road because of Mattaway. You're not doing this because of Mattaway. I think we got to get to a realization that we've got to do a number of things at the same time. We're a municipal government that has a number of parkland that we need to maintain. We need to upgrade playground structures when they're past their due date. We have a number of acreage of land that is a potential tourism draw, well-being. I'll just note that this project is in your strat plan, is in your corporate work plan, which is why staff have been working on it. So that being said, yes, if council needs more time, you can postpone this, but just to note that yes, we must look at our current parks and how they're utilized and how they're maintained, and the Parks and Rec Master Plan is doing that. This is really about getting a team of community volunteers together, continue working with our partners at the Shad Foundation, continue our discussions on MECP and the experts that we have, so that we continue to have that conversation about these lands, the undevelopable lands. Really, when you're turning off the O'Brien, if you're coming from Ottawa and you're coming off the O'Brien exit, those lands on the right, they're essentially ravine lands. So we've got to be able to do a number of things at the same time, and I think this is in keeping with some of your strategic direction that you've given us in the strat plan and the corporate work plan. But if council needs more time, council can take more time.
Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Mayor Sidney. I'm comfortable with voting on this tonight. Thank you.
Okay, you're good. Manager Springer.
Yeah, if I could just follow up, I think we haven't put any money into this so far. We've put very little staff time, to quite honest, maybe 40 hours of my time, 20 of Eric's, like very little to date. The Shad Foundation has a number of other projects on the go. Like they didn't have that many, but December when we first met them, but they have a number now that if we show a bit of hesitation, like we've already shown a bit of hesitation. We don't want to show any more hesitation because these people are experts and they're doing this for free and they see potential in this, and I very much encourage Andrew, if you have any questions, to come see me. I have photos, I have drone footage. I will take you out to that spot that I had mentioned. That's a very easy walk as well. That we could do something, like I said, phase one, very easily with very little effort. We have a meeting with the Federal Protective Services tomorrow. I know that the federal government also has goals of more protected spaces and has funds available for more protected spaces. Trillium Foundation is another one that does a lot of different trails development. They've worked with the county before on the Algonquin Trail. There's lots of different things out there, and right now there's a lot of focus on adding protected spaces. You know, the federal government has their 30 by 30. They want 30% of Canada's area protected by 2030. So that's a huge goal that they're working on. So that could have some funding associated with it. I'm thinking it's a good time, and as much as, yes, the other parks in town do need some work, that's not my department.
Councillor Gray, you had a
Through you, Mayor Sidney. Manager Springer kind of took some of my points, but it's a kind of a unique opportunity. This is separate, the way I look at it, this is separate than the parks. Like, we're doing the master plan for that, and that'll kind of cover them. But we have the Shad Foundation and all them wanting to work with us now, and I think we need to make a decision. If there's hesitation, like, this is a one-time opportunity to turn land that's not going to be developed ever into something that's kind of cool and exciting, and it'll draw people to Renfrew, right? So that's kind of it, and I might take you up on the walk, Amanda, we'll see.
Any other questions? Revimo?
Not a question. I agree. I think it's necessary because people living here and visiting here want experiences. And not everybody has the same experiences in mind. So the wider the attraction for residents and then also visitors is important. So, and it's at this point very low cost or virtually no cost, with the exception of staff time, which we should keep track of. But it's a good venture.
Any other questions? Councillor Sobolski.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Apologies. If I would have known it was your direct department, I might have rephrased the question. Thank you.
If I could just say, it's not my department is kind of what Jason said, that, I can't remember what you said, but you said it well. Just to say that, I have the capacity to do this, I have the passion to do this, and it is a once in a
Unique opportunity.
Once in a career opportunity, I guess we'll place it that way. So.
And I've had the fortunate opportunity to meet with that foundation with staff, and they're great people, very well connected, very knowledgeable, and I think it's an exciting time. And I think further to what CAO Tremblay said, being on council, we have to juggle a lot of moving parts, right? It's not just one building, one road. It's parks, roads, buildings, everything. So we need to keep moving the town forward, and I think this is a unique opportunity. So any other questions? Councillor McWhirter.
You, Mayor, for Amanda. I'm just wondering if it's possible, you could send the councillors all by email the video shots of the drone. I myself would be interested to see it from the sky, to see exactly what we're talking about, and if it's possible to connect those waterfront projects to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the drone footage is of highest quality that it is too big for an email, but we can try to get a large file share or a OneDrive or something to get that out to you.
Great. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Moving on to D.2.1, Statement of the 2023 Development Charges. That Renfrew Town Council approve the 2023 Development Charges Report as prepared by the Treasurer. Mover, please. Revimo, second by Councillor MacDonald. I will now turn it over to our Acting Treasurer.
Thank you, Mayor. Each year, the Treasurer has to provide a statement of the development charges that have been collected and the projects and how the financing occurred, what development charges were financed. So this is for 2023, and you can see the opening balance was 1.7 million, the ending balance almost 1.9 million. So we're certainly collecting the development charges through the building permit process. We collected 130,000 last year, and the interest that was gained on that was 98,000. So if you have any questions with regards to the overall report, and I'll also be bringing an investment report to the committee at the next Finance Committee meeting, but it just wasn't ready in time to get to this time.
Great, thank you. Any questions from Council? Hearing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to D.5.1, the Mattaway third-party review completion of mandate. The Renfrew Town Council approved the updated proposal for the review of the Mattaway expansion and expanded scope for the associated fraud investigation and associated costs. Mover, please. Councillor Gree, second by Councillor McWhirter. I will now turn it over to CAO Tremblay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just short of a year ago, Council, through direction, I believe it was Councillor McDonald, there was a motion to proceed with a third-party review to look at the procurement, the funding, the project management, and the contract type. And then in May of, the report says 2024, but it was May of 2023, Council did award the third-party review to WCSC Consultants, Inc. From a budget perspective, we started, we funded it through both budgets, the last recent budgets, to the tune of $73,600. But as Council has seen through the interim findings in December and the final findings that were recently presented in, was it March? Feels like yesterday, that the scope has expanded in the sense that there is a large volume of documents. So we're approaching 100,000 documents at this point, and a number of interviews. While the firm was selected based on the principal's qualifications, Tammy Carruthers is a chartered professional accountant, is a certified fraud examiner, a certified internal controls auditor, a certified construction auditor, a project management professional, a certified information systems auditor, and a certified change practitioner. So when we selected the firm, we selected somebody that should, as part of the review, there's any kind of sign of wrongdoing, that they would know what to look for, and then we could kind of switch gears, complete the third-party review and kind of the lessons learned piece, and that's the next report. But then at the same time, if there was fraud, that it could be examined further. So basically what we're coming back to you today is to say we're at a point where the scope of the original review, the third-party review, is such due to the volume of materials that the third-party reviewer has seen that we have a final kind of estimate, and then also to complete the fraud investigation. This ties into two recent directions of Council, one to pursue civil litigation based on some of the findings, as well as a referral to the OPP, and you directed the town clerk to advise them of a complaint, and the consultant, the town clerk, have connected with the OPP and have initiated that process, and Council has received the legal review on the civil proceedings, and there will be some updates in upcoming meetings on that. So in terms of next steps, the kind of final report, non-fraud related lessons learned, like the final package, will be to Council next month at the end of May. The fraud investigation will be completely concluded by the end of June, with some interim documents being passed along to the OPP, but both components of this report will form part of the civil proceedings as well when we initiate those. And then to conclude the financial aspect, because the consultants have been looking at all financial documents, all financial aspects of this, that will be concluded by September as well. So I know there's been talk about, well, what about a judicial review? What about a forensic audit? I'd like to just note the scope and breadth of this review and the qualifications of the firm that's been done. A judicial review would cost millions, and in my knowledge, they've been used in areas such as the LRT debacle in Ottawa, or the mall collapse up north, or there's they're large-scale, larger examples. This is us with a third party, an independent third party, looking at this. So we feel that this is a very fulsome review that has also already paid dividends in terms of getting to root causes and dealing with issues, and also some accountability in terms of the civil litigation that will follow and the OPP review that's occurring. And there will be more kind of reporting out to the public and Council in May with the final report. The fraud investigation will likely remain confidential, but will be coming to Council in June, and the full final financial review by the end of September. As noted by the Treasurer, any additional costs will be funded at year-end with the year-end surplus, and if there's no funds available, the Treasurer at that time will provide to Council how we would fund the rest of the work.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. CEO, can you just expand on the term forensic audit? People are getting hung up on the term, but just explain to them what we're getting exactly. Thank you.
Essentially, what would happen in a forensic audit is you would put out an RFP to get a qualified firm to go in and look at a number of documents and interview people and get to do a review of this nature. I would argue that we've called this a third-party review. I believe from when we talked, Councillor, when you wanted to bring this forward, and I believe it's probably the terminology I selected, which was third-party review. I'm not sure there's merit to bringing in another third party with the list of qualifications to pay another 200, like 100 to 200,000 for another third party to review the work of a third party. That being said, I'm not an expert in forensic audits, but again, I've talked about the qualifications of the consultant team and what we're getting as part of their mandate.
Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Directed to CEO Tremblay. Did you say a forensic audit would cost millions?
A judicial review. So a judicial review in the case, like if you bring in a Superior Court judge to do a judicial review of the matter, in the case of Ottawa, in the case of other large municipalities, they've cost, the dollar price has been in the millions of dollars. I think there's some thought that that would lead to arrests or council members losing their positions. In my knowledge, in the Ottawa case, as an example, no member of council was removed. It just led to a series of recommendations on course of action. Because this file has been given to the OPP, they will have all the powers available to them in their criminal investigation to subpoena witnesses and records, in addition to what the consultant is able to do when people are voluntarily participating in the process, but we have made available to them a lot of documentation to be able to do their work. Getting another third party to do similar work, I'm not sure achieves that when the OPP is the force, is the entity that has the additional powers to do its work under its authorities.
Follow-up?
Kind of a different question, Mayor Sidney, if that's okay. So just to confirm, the clerk and our third-party review have contacted the OPP, so the investigation has begun?
Did you want to speak to?
So after direction was made at the last council meeting, the next morning we had an immediate conversation with the OPP where I did give them a call, spoke to both the acting detachment commander as well as one of the special investigators, basically gave them some Cole's notes of where we were at and why we were referring and some of the details. Then we then connected both the consultant as well as the detachment commander and the special investigator to review some of the findings that were noted, and then the process from there has started. So that's about all I can say confidentially wise at this time.
No, that's fine, and that's it. Thank you, Mayor Sidney.
Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. On to D.5.2, Mattaway expansion third-party review response to findings. That Renfrew Town Council adopt the management response to findings of the Mattaway expansion third-party review for immediate implementation. Mover, please. Councillor Agree, seconded by Councillor McDonald. I'll turn it back over to the CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't repeat the preamble from the previous report. But the findings are grouped in 6 categories, and we could wait for the final report to start actioning this, but I think it's important for the public to know that we take this seriously, and we've actually put in our corporate work plan ahead of the final results that it's important that we action some of these findings. So the findings are grouped into 6 categories: governance, people, external environment, materials and policies, and methods and processes. So in the attachment for each of the findings, there is a management response, and you'll note that I've in every instance said we agree with the findings and the recommendation. There are 49 recommendations in total. We endorse all 49 recommendations. We're hopeful for the majority of them that we can get working on them this year. There's a few key elements that would require budget approval and we would do in future years. One is a dedicated project specialist. We had that, we talked about it in this year's budget, but deferred it to look at it in future years, so we'll look at that in 25 and 26. And also a full fee review of recreation. So while we've opened the facility and it's operating, we need some time to have it working, so we think that a fee review on recreation is probably a 2025 item. That being said, one of the major next steps is a major capital projects policy, which can, from a council perspective, direct us to do all of the due diligence that the consultant has found we have not done, and that will be first amongst the things that we need to do. Although we did replace the procurement policy upon my arrival, there's some tweaks that need to be done in terms of thresholds, and that will also occur this year. We also have on the docket a community engagement policy, and that will talk about on major projects such as the trails in terms of engaging the public. So we're clear on how we engage the public on some of our major capital projects, because the findings found that the stakeholder engagement was lacking in certain instances, as well as formal sponsorship and leasing policies. We have had sponsorships, we have had leasing, but they're not governed through a comprehensive policy, and we will create those as well. We've already set up training for staff, and we've also extended it to other municipalities for purchasing, fraud prevention, and project management, and those will occur over the coming months. And again, we will be updating the staff code of conduct to provide some whistleblower protection, but also to reiterate requirements in terms of full-time and attention to the town of Renfrew and outside interests. So we do have a policy, a full-time attention policy, that was created last year by myself. There is some provisions in the 2012 Code of Conduct that speak to it, but we need to reinforce that. We have an all-staff training day on May 9th where we will reinforce with all staff their obligations under the Code of Conduct. We did the same thing last year at the all-staff training day, but we'll continue to reiterate some of those messages. So all to say, we find that we take seriously the findings of the review, and staff are committed to taking action to correct what was found. And just to note, the major capital projects policy will be a centerpiece of the corrective action. Will include reporting protocols, project and management and scoping provisions, doing risk assessments, etc. So that will deal with many of the recommendations as well. Any questions, I'd gladly take them.
Any questions for the CAO? Councillor McWhorter?
You, Mayor Sidney, for CAO Drumley. Have you got any costing that you know of? I know there is software involved in this, what I'm reading, other than staff training and then, of course, staff's time to put together a lot of this protocol and put it in place. I'm just wondering if you have any rough estimates or anything, or is that something that will be coming up in the next budget?
I think for most of this, the policy work can be done internally by staff using some best practices from other municipalities. The financial software, which will go a long way, and also the asset management software and the budget software, which were included in the budget, will help in terms of a tool that can provide some data. So that's already been budgeted. So I think the bulk of this work can be done by staff. The two that will have budget implications is whether you add a project specialist in future years, and the cost to get an expert third-party economist firm to do the fee review on what's the subsidy to recreation, what are we recuperating through fees and charges, and what should we be charging through fees. So that would be identified in the 2025 budget. But the bulk of the work can be done by staff.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I just want to make a comment that I think, I think it's a great report. I think, the findings are great that we finally, we have them. But I just want to highlight it shows what the town needs and didn't have. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you to the staff and to the third-party review. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Council. On to D.5.3. The Renfrew Town Council approve the appointment of members for the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Mover, please. Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor McWhorter. I will turn it over to our clerk for a report.
So bear with me on this. I'm speaking on behalf of Manager Charbonneau, so hopefully I can do this justice. The Economic Development Advisory Committee was established. The idea of the committee and the mandate of the committee is to provide proactive economic development and towards tourism. As part of that process, Council has already approved the terms of reference. The terms of reference did include included three representatives from Council, as well as business kind of members. So expression of interest had gone out to the community with regards to anybody interested in being part of the committee. This was done back in February with a closing date in April. They did receive a number of applications which have been reviewed, and a total of 6 members have been selected based on kind of their involvement in the business community. So those 6 have been identified in the report and are being put forward to Council for appointment.
Okay, any questions from Council? Hearing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. On to external boards and reports. E.1, the 2024 March 25th substance use related harm in Renfrew County. Revimo, did you want to touch on that?
Thank you, Your Worship. Very quickly, I'll just take you to slide 5, where it talks about the naloxone. The distribution has increased across Renfrew County District since 2016. 4,600 doses, as you see, were given out in 2022, and 2023 shows that pharmacies alone distributed 7,000 doses. And we'll just skip through to, I'm sorry, went too fast. Slide 6, it talks about related emergency department visits. 2023, the numbers are going to be much higher than 2022. We should have those in the next couple of weeks. And slide 8 talks about toxicity deaths in Renfrew County and District. 2023, January until October only, it's 21 deaths. I can suggest to you that the number will be very close to 30 by year end. And that Pembroke and area is about 4 times higher than the rest of Renfrew County District. Living arrangements, it shows for the most part that it is striking people that are either homeless or suffering from decreased means, meaning that they're likely not eating as well as they could be, not sleeping as well as they could be, because they may not have the means to do that. The average age is, and I've lost that slide, and I'll just go from memory, between 20 and 48, I believe. Oh, sorry, 70% of deaths among those are aged 30 to 59, with 3 and 4 deaths are 3 and 4 deaths are among males. So that's slide 6. My apologies. I can tell you that the warming center, there were 1,400 people used the warming center. The average age was between 18 and 70, with roughly 44 being the middle of the range. And you can look at slide 11, which talks about presumed mode of drug use, and then slide 12, which talks about the substances involved. And there has been fentanyl continues to contribute to the 85% of the opioid deaths, and there is some other new chemicals being mixed in as well, as late as 3 weeks ago. And so it's causing a real problem. So I can tell you the response has been that the medical officer of health has formed a new committee to deal with opioid deaths. It's called Renfrew County District Community Drug Strategy Steering Committee, and it starts to meet on Thursday. And the idea is to bring together others from the community, substance abuse substance use prevention, treatment and harm reduction and enforcement. And so there's a working group from across many different sectors of our community that will be meeting, and they'll be reporting back out with strategies. And so I don't know much more than that. I've read the terms of reference, and am in the process tomorrow of having 2 county councillors appointed to it by motion of council. So as I get more information, I'll pass it back to you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Moving on to E.2, FCM new federal housing and infrastructure announcement for information. Moving on to F, confirmation of minutes. That Renfrew Town Council confirmed the regular meeting of council minutes dated April 9th, 2024, and the closed meeting minutes from the regular and special meetings of council dated February 27th and March 12th, March 21st and April 9th, 2024, understanding they remain confidential. Mover, please. Councillor Degree, second by Councillor McWhirter. Any questions on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. I'm just going to go on. We have 2 proclamations that I'm going to read. The first one is proclamation that we stand with survivors campaign for Sexual Assault Awareness Month in May. That Renfrew Town Council support the We Stand with Survivor campaign and proclaim May as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and staff be directed to raise the We Stand with Survivors campaign banner provided by the Women's Sexual Assault Center at the Visitor Information Center located at 190 Mask Road. So that was the first proclamation. And the second proclamation. Renfrew Town Council proclaimed May 16th, 2024 as Moose Hide Campaign Day. So that was this is all in relation to intimate partner violence. Back when we, on May 23rd, 2023, we declared intimate partner violence against women an epidemic and updated its community safety and well-being plan to include a policy regarding intimate partner violence. So that was the second proclamation. Moving on to H1. Yeah. Just note that Councillor MacDonald has removed himself from the seat at council for this. I'm just going to pull this up. That Renfrew Town Council removed Councillor John MacDonald from all committees, groups, boards in which he has been tasked to be representative of the town, and furthermore, it remains in effect from 11:59 p.m. April 23rd, 2024 until 11:59 October 26, 2026. Mover, please. Revimo, Councillor, or Secretary, Councillor Degree. I will turn it over to Revimo for his motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, through the chair, I have presented a motion for your consideration. No one wants to bring such a motion in front of council about a colleague and your friend. This must have made your weekly phone calls with Councillor MacDonald difficult and stressful. Councillors have many roles and expectations demanded of them, and they, for the most part, perform them well. It takes the actions of one to reflect poorly on the other 6 members. Misleading council and the public is one such action which reflects poorly on all of council and the corporation. On March 26, 2024, Councillor John MacDonald repeatedly misled council and the public with his statements. Number 1, he stated that I placed the town in a situation whereby in August 2018 an employee was wrongfully terminated. I would need to see that finding. He also said the town faced a $103 million lawsuit. Again, I hope he can provide that filing. Let me spare you the search for those documents. Both statements are false. The dispute between the town of Renfrew and Mr. Longton regarding the termination of Mr. Longton's employment has been resolved to both parties' mutual satisfaction. The town acknowledges that Mr. Longton's legal challenge was initiated in good faith and in accordance with his understanding of his right to continue to serve in this position with the town beyond the age of 60. Mr. Longton acknowledges that the town's decision to terminate his employment was carried out in good faith and in accordance with the town's understanding of its legal obligation to protect the safety of the community. Number 2, he stated I had a hands-off approach to the director and allowed a director to leave, retire, access, and enjoy his 2-year payout. This statement is false. There are no instances offered where I was shown to take a hands-off approach to this director, and I believe there is no information confirming this false statement as to payout. Councillor McDonald was inaccurate and forgets the director retired after this council assumed their seats. I recall he took a role in the discussions. Number 3, he stated, under my leadership, we've had numerous human resources and financial failures over a long period of time. Again, no information was offered. Number 4, he states I enabled an unqualified and renegated director to remain in a position of power and influence for years. Another false statement. At one time or another, all directors appeared before the Human Resources Committee. I would urge Councillor McDonald to provide the information showing I did not act when given information about anyone's conduct, including that director. He said between August 2022 and November 2022, swearing in, I did nothing after learning of the $8 million overrun. Again, he is inaccurate. I met with the CAO and we acted with a bid to reorganize excuse me, and free up staff resources to deal with Mattaway. Councillor McDonald had been given that information previously and displays a lack of memory, which is worrisome. I would further draw his attention to the 2022 CAO goals developed in June 2022, which he has had in his possession since orientation. I remind him June occurs before August. What I can suggest to you is that goal A, if you look down to item number 3, and it says to examine mandated policies required in the Municipal Act, including delegation of authority and procurement. And then you go to item number 5, work with SMT to develop a suitable monthly reporting format to committee and council on all significant capital projects. Number 7 is to continued review and development of HR policies, ensuring the corporation has developed or will develop adequate technical competency to manage, regularly review, evaluate, and motivate all staff with an individualized report. Number 6, he noted the director had a negative and storied history with regards to his employment. Please share the stories, and maybe any stories about my ignoring the allegations when and if they were presented to me. Number 7, Councillor McDonald indicated I did nothing with regards to addressing the HR issues. Had he approached me at any time, I could have shared some information. I could have told him, A, of an unsuccessful 2017 meeting I had with the SMT about them reporting individually on a monthly basis to the HR committee with annual goals. At that time, I was reintroduced to the term constructive dismissal. B, a 2018 meeting with legal counsel in which I was informed we needed to update the SMT contract as the corporation was at a serious disadvantage. They also informed of the need to negotiate changes to it, meaning the contract, to remove the shared CAO clause and the need then for new job descriptions. C, the May 2020 council meeting, where I attempted to gain a seat at the weekly senior management team meetings. The request went sideways. However, the Fournier report was sought and then dated October 2021 on the reorganization. I would also suggest to him he read the May 2019 Strategic Initiatives motion passed by Council. And F, I would suggest he reads the numerous reports to Council on progress of changing the model from SMT model to CAO, all without being sued for constructive dismissal. And there are other documents as well. Councillor McDonald neglected to inform the public that he has sat here as a leader of the new council as the bulk of the money has been spent on Mattaway, and yet no apology. Councillor McDonald has sat on the committee with responsibility for the town garage and has never brought it up during the 2 budget sessions. As to the fire hall, council has not been informed of the need for a fire hall, nor a request for one. If Councillor McDonald sits on that committee, perhaps he can bring it forward. Given Councillor McDonald's struggle with his memory, I am suggesting we cannot trust him to accurately reflect or represent this municipality and our community. I know he's been the spiritual leader of 5 councillors, and it must be hard to note during his 6-minute statement, which he took time to write out, it contains so many inaccuracies. I would further note he offered up a statement which, paraphrased, says punishment needs to be consistent, and mine was to reflect and approximate Mayor Sidney's. As Councillor McDonald will not do the honourable thing and resign after having 4 weeks to ponder the veracity and accuracy of his statements, I request the Chair and Council to consider the following. The Renfrew Town Council remove Councillor John McDonald from all committees, groups and boards from which he's been tasked to be a representative of the town, and furthermore, this remain in effect from 11:59 April 23rd, 2024 until 11:59 October 26, 2026. And I will request a recorded vote, please.
Thank you. I will now offer the opportunity for council to ask questions or anything like that. Just to remind council that please go through the chair. It's not directed at each individual. Should you have anything to say or ask. So I will now ask if anybody has any questions. Councillor Degree.
Through you, Mayor Sidney, I did second this to get it on the table because I believe every council member, Reeve, Mayor, should be able to have their say. So I wanted to hear what the Reeve had said. I want to state that I think we all go home at night with the decisions we made with removing powers and stuff from the Reeve and the Mayor, and we take it very seriously. It's not personal. It came from information. It came from a third-party reviewer, information that's true and accurate. What I'm hearing now from the Reeve is kind of, I'm not saying it's not true, but it's how do you tell what is what in a lot of that. I don't believe it's, you know, I believe that we're getting into, and it's sad to say that this happened to me, so I want to do this to you situation. And we're all adults. We work for these people right here. They voted us in. So we need to, I think, stop playing this game and get down to work and move on. That's my comment. Thanks.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments from council? Hearing none. Oh. Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Sidney. I just want this to be over, and I respect Reeves Emo's comments, and I respect Councillor McDonald's comments when he made his statement, and I just, when we made motions towards the Mayor and the Reeve, we voted on them, and then I can't speak for the other councillors, but I can speak for myself. Like, I want to move forward. I want to work with everybody at these tables. I want to get past this. I want the town to heal. You know, like Councillor Gregory said it great. We work for the townspeoples, and I really, really want this to be over. And I just don't know how we're going to do that as a team. I thought we were on the, like last week we were laughing, you know, me and you, Mayor Sidney, we were laughing about a few little jokes, and I know we don't have to like each other, but we definitely can work together, because I think all 7 of us have the exact same motive here, is we want to fix what happened out at Mattaway. We want to figure it out together now. We're moving forward on that. We all love this town. We all want to work for this town. And I just really, really hope that we can do that together. I said it to a few councillors this past week. I want to have a kumbaya session. I want to get together. I want to get closed session. And I want to figure this out. We can scream at each other. We can swear at each other in closed session. We can figure this out. The 7 of us, we're all grown men, and we're going to come out of that closed session, hopefully lighting candles, and there'll be rainbows and unicorns, and we'll all be together. But like, seriously, I really want this to be over. And again, Revimo, I respect everything you just said. I respect you, and I just want this to be over, and I think that's all I have to say. And I just needed to get that off my chest. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor Sidney.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor McWhorter.
I'd just like to make a statement. I find the timing and the optics obvious. I agree with Councillor Agree. I think it's time to either work together or come up with another solution. But the optics with this is just obvious. So that's all I'll say on this. So I'm not the next target.
Revimo, would you like to add to that?
Sure, they're obvious. I did say earlier a couple of times I needed to be reassured that should comments come up or actions from any one of the other 5 members of council that the same standards will be applied. So it is obvious about standards. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm just going to make a quick little comment. It puts me in an awkward position because I was, the first one to get the double barrel. I got it twice. So it does put me in an awkward position for this. However, when you look at consistencies and accountabilities and, is it just 2 former councillors that are whatever and it doesn't apply to the rest? And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just, if we're going to do this and put people through this and have it impact their professional and personal lives and, get destroyed, how come it's only for 2? So I think that's a comment I'll make. If there's any other comments or questions? Councillor Zabolski.
Just quickly, and again, respect through you, Chair, and Revimo. Oh man, that Madway project's bad, guys. I walked it yesterday. It's bad. It's not over yet. We did what we did for reasons that were presented to us, and I apologize for the issues that it's caused. And maybe some short-sightedness in our words. It's cost me personally as well. I remember back in the beginning when we talked about this project, what it did for me personally. I lost a job. So I get it. But to walk through a building yesterday and see what we saw and see how bad it is and see the overruns and the mistakes and the decisions made, it was frustrating. And I apologize to you personally, both of you, that it's cost some personal heartache because it's cost me it too. So I hope it ends. I need it to end. I want it to go on and move forward and be beautiful, and I hope that we can all get along going forward. But man, oh man, that building has hurt us all badly.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote, please.
As the motion was originally put forward by Revimo, I'll start there.
In favor.
Councillor Legree.
Not in favor.
Councillor McWhorter.
Not in favor.
Councillor Zabolski.
Not in favor.
Councillor Dick.
Not in favor.
Mayor Sidney.
In favor.
The motion is not carried.
Thank you very much, Council. Motions requiring suspension of rules. I don't think we have any. Councilor McDonald. Notice of motions. Anybody have a notice of motion? Okay. Councilor Legree.
Sorry, I actually. Through you, Mayor Sidney, I actually have 2 notices of motion. The first one will be, I will be bringing forward a motion to begin a conversation with Renfrew Hydro Inc. and Renfrew Power Generation about the calling in of the promissory notes owed to the town of Renfrew. And the second one is, I will also bring forward a motion for staff to look into the accessibility parking spots on the main street. Thank you.
Any other notices of motion? Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. This is a notice of motion to have the CAO draft correspondence that will be directed to the Ontario provincial government regarding necessary changes required to municipal governance. Specific changes are needed that will provide a venue for citizens' voices to be heard and where their legitimate concerns can be actionable in a timely manner. Further, that this correspondence will be forwarded to all other Ontario municipalities to seek their endorsement for this motion of greater accountability to elected municipal officials. I know staff is extremely busy, so if we wanted to push this out to Tuesday, the 28th of May, I looked ahead. I don't know if that's doable, just to give you time. Okay, thank you.
Any other notices of motion? Revimo?
Thank you. I will be presenting a motion on May the 14th for Council's consideration that Renfrew Town Council remove a councillor from all committees, groups, and boards in which he has been tasked to be a representative of the town, and furthermore that this remain in effect from 11:59 p.m. May 14th, 2024 until 11:59 October 26, 2026 for their actions which demonstrated a desire or intent to ignore the sound advice of staff, all in the interest of healing.
Thank you. Any other notices from council? All right, we're not going into close, so I'm going to go to bylaws. That bylaws listed on the agenda of April 23rd, 2024 be taken as read and passed. 41-2024, the Bonnechere River Park and Trail Working Group Terms of Reference. 42-2024 Economic Development Advisory Committee member appointments. And 43-2024 confirming. Mover, please. Councillor Degree, seconded by Councillor McWhorter. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Coming up, Committee of the Whole meeting on May 7th, 2024 at 10 a.m. and regular council meeting May 14th, 2024 at 6 p.m. And with that, we are now adjourned at 7:33. Thank you, Council, and for everybody watching and still in the audience.
Let us know when you're off.